you guys? Good to hear.
So 2 practices in, kind of how's it felt kind of settling in a little bit for you?
Yeah, it's definitely been good. You know, making sure that we get good chemistry and all this extra work in, I feel like is really good for the team. You know, I really think that these practices, like even though we don't get a spring game, are super important. You know, they build good chemistry. We get to learn the plays. Obviously, we've got breaking in two new coordinators who I think are going to be really good. And, you know, are already like letting us unlock to our full potential. So.
Coach Norvell talked about the need for ownership out of everybody. For you, I know it's your first year, but as an older guy, have you tried taking on a bigger leadership role, even though it's only been a couple practices so far?
Yeah, for sure, and I think he's really expected that out of me, which I strive for. It's not something I'm used to. Definitely new territory. At Nebraska, we had the same group and you know, a really strong group of leaders. So you know, I'm trying to adjust to that, but you know, D-Jack is really helping me with all of that, and I really think that you know, we're going to be a really good 1-2 punch on any offensive lineman. Any offensive line group, to handle on that. So I think the chemistry that we're building is really good right now, and like obviously I'm learning a lot from him because he's seen like good leaders before that. So
I mean, has it helped your leadership just being familiar with Coach White and Coach Knight? Have they also kind of supported you as well?
For sure, they're definitely they're harder on me, but I like that. They expect more out of me, I think. You know, like I know this defense. I'm still trying to help everyone else get used to it and acclimated to it, and you know, get used to even Coach Malzahn's tempo at this rate. You know, it's probably going to be one of the fastest offenses we play. So it's, you know, it's good for us, making sure that I can help lead them into all that we need to do. So.
Coach Knight, when we were talking to him the other day, he talked about he just felt like you're in a good place, like you seem happy here and adjusted well. How long did that take, and can you just share how you feel about that?
Yeah, not long at all, for sure. I've been happy since the moment I stepped on here for my visit, and I really felt like this is a home. You know, everyone in Tallahassee, I really feel like has like really accepted me, especially here on the team. I didn't really feel like there was an integration period where I was behind. Everybody else was like, I didn't know anybody. I was like kind of awkward in the room. I felt like everybody has really been super nice and kind here. And then, you know, he talked about me being happy. I really felt like I wasn't for a long time. And then ever since I've been here, it's just kind of like I feel like a whole different person. You know, I put 20 pounds on in less than 2 months. You know, like everyone here is super encouraging. They're not easy on me. Like they still want what's best for me, but it's like a good, tough love. You know, and that really helps when you respect, like I really do respect like Coach Norvell and Coach Storms and their message and what they do every day. And you know, even when they're screaming at me, I really feel like they just have my best interest at me, and that's always been the standard with Coach White and Coach Knight as well. So
what is it about, I guess, maybe like life that's allowed you to connect with Coach Norvell?
You know, we're both very into our faith, which is something that's like really strong for him. You know, we say the Lord's Prayer after every single practice, and that means a lot to me. I really like, he wraps his arm around me and tells me that he loves me, but he's not going to like just let me do whatever I want and like dictate the team however I want, because he knows that's not how a good team is run. But I feel like he builds me up in a way that like doesn't allow me to think that being lazy is okay, but at the same time, like he knows that I know that he has my back, and I know that he's always going to be there to support me. You know, like one of the biggest things he's been working on with me is like being a leader and making sure that like, hey, even when I'm tired, I'm at the front of the lines, I'm making sure that I'm on the rest of the guys, because we have a really talented group, and making sure that like I'm showing them the ropes and how to like properly be a defensive lineman here at Florida State and the standard of what it takes to win. So all those things, like I'm really appreciative of him for. And then even like when he brings us up afterward and he just tells us that, you know, he loves us and he loves coaching for us, that means a lot to me, because I feel like it's something I haven't had. So like it fills a nice void in my life.
A lot of times in the transfer portal, it feels almost transactional nowadays. Guys go from school to school, and there's not as much of a connection as there used to be. I imagine that's what you hoped for coming here, but are you even surprised at how happy you are and how quickly you were able to make a connection?
No, I don't think so. You know, like we have a lot of guys in place here that have done good things. Obviously, you know, D-Jack has, but then there's, you know, Shaheem as well, and then there's, you know, KJ and all these different guys that we have, even on the D-line. There's like Daniel Lyons, KJ Sampson. There's a lot of continuity here, not necessarily, you know, snaps, but I really feel like people know like what to expect here, and not even just in here, like around Tallahassee. Like if I need to ask somebody where a good place to go out is, like they know, or if I need to go find a good place to eat, they know. And it never feels hostile at all. Like I feel like a lot of places, you know, you're always competing with the guys around you, and it doesn't necessarily feel like genuine. I feel like here everybody has my best interest at heart, and I have their best interest at heart. Even other guys that I'm competing with for reps and stuff like that. So.
If I can follow up with you about the competition, Coach Norvell has talked about how important that is, that every day you're kind of fighting for your spot. How are you able to form these connections outside of football, but then coming into practice, like either I'm playing or he's playing come fall?
For sure, and it's not an easy line to cross. It doesn't help that it's usually unspoken. But I would say like getting in with the rest of my guys, like even in the D line, the D end room. We got Amari Williams and Grant Fielder or Jesse Harold and Deontay McCray, Tay Diggs. I think like just forming connections with them outside of this, because it's one thing to be here and to be cool with them, but like that's business. When it's a personal type thing, and you're hanging out outside of the building, it means you're putting time, like your free time that you have very little of, to commit to being as close with these guys as possible. And I think that's huge, because then when you come here, it doesn't feel personal. It just feels like, hey, may the best man win, and everybody understands that, and it doesn't become hurt feelings. It becomes like understood.
How does one go about adding 20 pounds in 2 months, other than eating a lot and working out a lot, probably?
Coach Storms and Jaden Ham have done wonders for me. Really appreciative of those two, especially Jaden. She's done lots of good stuff for me. She's really shown me the way to properly take care of my body. Something that I've been like accustomed to is I'm starting the carnivore diet. It also helps that like my fiance is also she's a nutritionist, so diving into stuff like eating more red meat, cutting out lots of fat, cutting out stuff like seed oils and stuff like that, has all helped with that, because then I still feel like I can move around really well. It doesn't necessarily feel like I put 20 pounds on. I just like sometimes I look in the mirror and I'm like, okay, wow, I'm a little bit bigger now. But all that kind of stuff, and then even like with T Knight, when he was like trying to help me adjust to life down here, because obviously it's really hot, and like the first day I was like, it was a little humid down here. I'm still trying to get adjusted to the weather. Like how he's helped me with like, hey, like even if you can't eat, you still got to drink your calories, and all that. And then obviously Coach Storms has done wonders for me in the weight room. My numbers have gone up tremendously over the last couple of weeks. So I really think like all the people around here are all like contributing to my overall success.
What do you think that can do for you on the football field? The extra power, the extra weight?
I've already felt it so far. I definitely feel stronger. I feel like I dictate what everyone else does necessarily. I feel like when I used to be smaller, it was like, hey, in the pass game, you're going to be able to get around this guy, but in the run game, you're not. You want to like have perfect technique. You got to be perfect off the ball. You have to be perfect with this. I feel like I still want to strive for that, but I don't feel like it's necessarily like 1-to-1. I have to do that. It doesn't have to always look perfect, just because, and like I said, I still want to strive for that, but I still want to, I still have power. I have more power in my, like behind me, in my hips and in my hands, all that kind of stuff. And obviously we haven't put the pads on yet, so we'll see what happens when that comes. But just so far, I feel like it's been a lot better for me.
You mentioned Amari Williams working with the defensive line. What have you seen from him and some of these other younger guys so far?
He's very athletic, and he's very skilled. He's very talented. I went to go play basketball with him the other day and noticed that he flies down the court. He's a bit smaller, so he's got to put that weight on. But I think he's going to be really dangerous. He's really effective as a pass rusher. He was doing some great things today. He got off the ball and he got to Tommy like once or twice, I think. Obviously our reps are a little bit limited right now. We have a big group, but I think he's going to be someone that really shines, especially after working with T Knight for a little bit. And his raw athleticism is like something I haven't seen. His bend, his ability to get off. Once he adds that weight, I think he's going to be a dog. So
T Knight said if things go the way they should, you may not be here much longer than a year. Has he seemed to have more confidence in you than you did at sometimes? I mean, just what's it like having somebody that's that confident in your abilities?
It's funny because you would never think that if it was just me and him talking one-on-one. But no, I love T Knight. He's obviously he has a lot of confidence in me, and like you said, he has more confidence in me than sometimes I even have in myself. There's a long period of time I didn't even believe I could move up from the JUCO level and like be a walk-on who like just started playing in the middle of the season. It's something like I didn't even know I could do myself. So like even that the belief that he had back in me then, he had in me back then, you know, was tremendous, and you know, it really like empowered me to like be a better player. You know, like that statement, you know, it like throws a lot at me. And, you know, I'm still young, I'm still trying to mature in this world. You know, I've only been at Florida State for 2 months. Like, you know, we're already talking about not being here anymore, but it's not a challenge that I'm going to run away from. It's not something I'm going to shy from. It's something I'm going to embrace, and it's something that I really feel like, you know, like would help define my season. You know, if I'm not striving to be the best person and the best player I can be, you know, why am I here? Why would I want to play at Florida State if it's not the best in the country? You know what I'm saying? Because that's what people come here to do. And you know, if I'm not trying to play for T-Night because he only wants the greatest, he wants to become the greatest D-line coach of all time. Well, why would I not want to help add to his resume after all he's done for me? So.
Let's do one more for James.
You just talked about embracing expectations. Is that difficult? Is that something that you rely on the coaches for? Just how do you go about that? You talked about you only been here for 2 months and also trying to mature outside of football in your own right.
I think they know that I'm built for it. You know, like it's not something that they think like I can't handle. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it for me. But at the same time, I also understand that like, hey, you know, this is Florida State. This isn't high school anymore. You know, like you have big things expected of you, and you know, to whom much is given, much is expected. But that's not something, like I said earlier, it's not something I shy away from. You know, I like that Coach Norvell expects me to be a leader and expects me to, you know, contend for ACC Defensive Player of the Year. He expects me to stand right next to him and for us to lead this team on defense. You know, like that's something that I love, and I really hope that you know, keeps up. Because if he stops doing that, if he stops like expecting that of me, then am I really going to go anywhere? So, yeah. Perfect.